All good. Marty, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks.
It's been a minute. So you obviously bagged a moose. You got what you were looking for.
Yep. I didn't personally bag it. I hunt with a group of 6 guys, and it's an effort, right? We all go out our own way. I have my own preferred meadows that I like to go to, and it's a really cool feeling. I mean, I like shooting an animal and getting my own animal, but it's pretty cool when you're out in the wilderness and all of a sudden you hear the bang over the horizon. And then you wait, and then you hear another bang. He's like, okay, somebody got something. So my buddy Jody got a moose. Yeah, got a nice moose.
Nice. There it is. There, you put it out on Twitter.
Yep.
Big one?
That's about a 3-year-old. Not very big. In fact, I butchered it yesterday. We got this about 5 days ago. What we do in the field for the viewers, the first step. So this doesn't look like it. On the last, the first step we do is we gut it. We open it up and get rid of the entrails, and then we drag it to our camp, hoist it up, and then skin it. And then once it's skinned, it hangs in camp for a couple of days, and until we're ready to leave. And then when we leave, we pack it into little trailers. We call them little tub trailers. We tow those behind our ATVs, and that's what it looks like. That's a quarter. So that's a hind quarter. And because there's 6 of us, Jody took half the moose, another buddy took a front quarter, and I took a rear quarter, and the other guys, the guys who live up north, they have a lot of opportunities. My buddies, they'll continue hunting well into December, so they're confident they'll get something else. And that quarter, I butchered it yesterday. Basically, get the meat off the bone, and then make some roast, some steaks, and then some chop. Yeah, there you go. That's those white bags are burger. As you're grinding, you put the bag on the end of the grinder, and then you just stuff it quickly. That's half of what the yield was from that 1 quarter. So got 70 pounds for 1 quarter, which makes, let's say 4 times 7, 280, 300 pounds dressed out. That's a small moose. Usually I get a full moose would be 500-600 pounds, but it's only me and Karen nowadays. Kids are gone. We're empty nesters. That's plenty of food for 70 bags like that, right? They've 70 little bags like that of 2 pounds each, kind of thing. So yeah,
it'll last you a good amount of time. That's great.
Yeah. Well, you get tired of eating it, right? So we eat it twice a week. So yeah. And the wettest drought I've ever experienced. I mean, man, we were in our tents every night. Hey, I brought home beer. Okay, that's how cold it was, right? When it's cold, you don't feel like drinking beer. I'm sort of embarrassed to say this. I brought 2 cases of 48. I brought 96 beers out there, and I came home with 24. So only drank. Only drank 10 beers a day. It's too cold to drink.
No, I mean, as long as it's a good time, that's absolutely. But what's been happening in Canada? I mean, you've been back for a bit. You've seen some of the stuff that's happening.
I've seen a bit. I mean, I had a lot of work. Yeah, I had 5 hours of work yesterday, gutting that or butchering, and then today I had to put away my gear, clean my quad. We made a deal. I agreed to try and stay off the internet until I got back, so you can surprise me with some of the stuff. I'm aware of the high level, but I'm not aware of too much.
Well, I mean, you're out in the forest, so why don't we talk about the forest stuff first? Because
sure.
Justin Trudeau, before all of this happened, he had a freak out in Parliament where he was freaking out about climate change. He's again what he normally does, a thing, because he's an actor. He's not a real politician. He's not expert in anything. And he had this unhinged rant. I mean, I don't even know what else.
More unhinged than usual. Okay, this ought to be good.
More unhinged than usual. So, and of course, Alex Zultan, he put this clip together. Really good clip of this in particular.
We have a price on pollution that is putting more money back in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians where it applies, and is bringing down emissions and creating growth and jobs. That's what Canadians need.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker,
pretends you can put out forest fires with taxes. Clearly, that has not worked.
Jasper was one of the most fire-smart communities in the country. Over the past years, residents and leaders within Jasper have been exemplary in making sure they were doing everything they could to protect their community. This fire, Mr. Speaker, was a treetop fire. It jumped from treetop to treetop and through flaming pine cones, kilometers into ahead of it, which is what set this burn. This is a result of climate change, Mr. Speaker. Climate change. He doesn't want to fight.
So obviously that was just unhinged and crazy, absolutely crazy. And everybody's quoting the, flying flaming
flying pine cones, or what?
He almost said into the future, but kilometers flying pine cones on fire, and it's just absurd.
A couple of things. First of all, watching lately some of his clips of the House of Commons, you can see a lot of people are zooming in on the people standing behind him. Some of the people, even his own supporters now, they got that look on their face. They're like, oh, dude, like this again, right? And some of them are looking down like, please make this end kind of thing. But hey, so I have a good buddy of mine that I hike with who is from Jasper, right? And we talked about the Fire Smart thing specifically at one point in the last couple of months, I remember. And he even said it was a joke. Like the Fire Smart strategy in Jasper was literally like they were sending out emails saying like, oh, make sure your barbecue is, make sure you don't have tall grass around your barbecue kind of thing. Like literally like really, really simple stuff. I mean, and yeah, we've talked about this, right? The fire was preventable. I mean, sure, it jumped over the pines and it was at the treetops, but we all know what happened.
Well, what happened here was Trudeau opened up a can of worms that I don't think he anticipated what he was doing.
He'll never repack it.
Well, because of drawing that much attention to it, then everybody started talking about it again.
Yep.
Well, what actually happened in Jasper, and why did the fire spread? And what was the management? What was the mismanagement? And what did the fire services that said they were going there do? Well, it turns out, there's a lot of blame to share over, especially with Guilbeault, the guy who's supposed to be in charge of all this. He's the environmental minister and minister of climate change. He only focuses on the latter part. This from Dan Mazier saying, jaw-dropping, Trudeau's radical environment minister is on the witness stand for failing to prevent Jasper wildfires. Experts warned the Liberals for years the catastrophic fire in Jasper was not a matter of if, but when. Despite this, the Liberals failed to protect Jasper. The Jasper wildfire investigation at the Environment Committee revealed that Minister Guilbeault had committed gross negligence. As more evidence is released, shocking discussions expose what happened months before Jasper burned. Canadians deserve answers. More to come. And this is a video that he put out.
Justin Trudeau's radical environment minister is on the witness stand for his failure to prevent the devastating fires in Jasper National Park.
We're doing nothing to protect you against forest fires.
The Liberal government knew for years that Jasper was at risk, but they failed to take action. And as a result, over 1/3 of the town was lost and nearly $1 billion in damage occurred from the wildfires. Canada's first responders responded with strength and bravery, but the reality is damage could have been prevented. For years, Minister Guilbeault's government was warned of the fire risk in Jasper National Park. In 2017, forestry expert wrote to then Environment Minister Catherine McKenna, urging the Liberal government to take action. They said the likelihood of a catastrophic fire event in Jasper National Park, and I quote, is not a matter of if, but when.
Yeah, one thing about none of this is new, right? I remember when the fire happened in July, late July, like July 22nd, 23rd, something like that. And I remember, and we talked about it for weeks. One thing that I remember fondly after the fire is that it was one of those instances where the media actually got interested in finding out what had happened, right? So remember in the days after the fire, some of this stuff was already coming out. Like, we knew about it all already. this is an inquiry now that's official, which I'm glad. So now what we already knew, what the media had already uncovered, is now going on the official record, and there's more, which is fantastic. Like I saw, like during the fire when it was happening, I was sharing live tweets or DMs that I was getting. Like I was getting DMs from buddies in Edson saying, like without giving a name, I have a lady friend. She's like, yeah, my husband, he's in a truck right now. He's calling me. They can't go into Jasper. They won't let him in. And they were reaching out to me saying, like, can you contact anybody? Anyways, so I'm glad this inquiry is coming out. It's an official record of things that we already knew. Do I think
so that's something like what we saw last year in Shuswap when they were telling people, residents, no, you can't help us out. No, you can't come in. They block the roads, even put spikes across the roads to stop people from going in. This gets worse, Marty. It gets worse. Now it's coming out that actual firefighters, like professional firefighters that are tasked with this job, were blocked from coming in. And they were threatened with arrest if they were to come. So here's from Shaya Gunredi, says cover up in progress after Chris Levium testified that Parks Canada had the wrong hydrants installed in Jasper, that he was told to watch structures burn and then warned that he would be arrested if he tried to help. The Liberal chair of the Environmental Committee said they can't testify because of French interpretation issues. So this is a clip from that.
You also mentioned that you were threatened and with arrest or removal on multiple times. So if you could further identify what those instances were, and if you know what officials with Parks Canada were deciding to intentionally turn away 20 trucks and over 50 firefighters, well-trained firefighters, and not only just turn them away with the apparent threat of force. If you could provide a little bit more detail to the committee on that. And lastly, as an expert that works regularly in the field on the ground, if you could provide a little bit of context as to whether or not, in your view, prescribed burns and mechanical removal are effective tools to mitigate the potential heat sources and damage caused by wildfires, particularly the one in Jasper, and in your expert opinion, whether or not enough of that was done by Parks Canada to prevent that from happening. And lastly, in your view, if Parks Canada was in fact negligent in its responsibilities that led to the disastrous fire in Jasper. So if you could all do that, I would appreciate that. I'll move back to Mr. Messier. You mentioned an increase in pests. What is the transmission of pests to our forests? Like how does that happening?
Yeah, I was part of a committee, a national committee that, and I can send you the report, but we are doing a lot of trade with Europe, the US, and the Asian and China. And interestingly enough, they have the same kind of climate, the same type of trees, and the risk of bringing an insect and a pest from these areas is very high. And actually, we are doing that almost every day. So that's actually one of the clear problem is we are trading with regions of the world that have similar species, and the risk of bringing a species where the trees in this original country, they have adapted to it, but here they are not adapted to it. And this is what's happening, and it's increasing.
Thank you, Mr. Messi. I just want to give the rest of my time to Mr. Deltel.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, they're all over the place, and I guess they're calling this a translation issue instead of getting to the bottom of the story.
Yeah.
But then all over the news, obviously we have more instances of...
This is a great video. I've seen this video. This is a great video.
So I'll leave a link in the description down below. People can go check this out because we can quickly describe it. But people in this video were
right there, like like that.
They were turned away.
That's Yellowhead County Fire Department. Like that's the town of Edson's fire department, and these are the kinds of guys that my buddies knew were being turned away. Man, you look in this video, the city there. Whoa, right back there. Look at that. Go a little bit further. Backwards. Anyways, there. You know what that thing is there on the truck?
No,
there?
I don't know what that is.
That's from the airport. That's a fire truck from the airport. That thing can shoot out foam and put out a jet plane that's on fire. Okay. There happens to be one in Edson because Edson is an emergency. It's the longest runway between, let's say, Edmonton and Vancouver is in Edson. So they actually have a wicked, weird piece of equipment like that in case a jet has to do an emergency landing from Edmonton. That truck gets never used. They tried to get it to Jasper. Like, man, I could put out a city block with this thing. I'll just dump foam everywhere. And they got blocked. They're not private citizens. They're other government agencies. Like, it was so mismanaged. And these guys tried to get in when the town hadn't caught on fire yet. They're just trying to get there. Man, well,
it gets worse. It gets worse because this
please.
is the government that does not want any sort of accountability in all of this. So what are they doing now? Well, it's time for a cover up. It's time to cover up all their mistakes. I put this out on Twitter. Here comes the cover up for letting Jasper burn, headed by the guy who is they're protecting from an RCMP corruption investigation, Randy Bousso. See how this works? You see how this works? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. This is. Do
your viewers know who Randy Bousso is? Oh my God!
Well, we'll probably get into it in this video.
Let me read that again. What's he been appointed?
Well, okay, here it is. Prime Minister announces new ministerial lead for Jasper. So, as a part of the federal government's commitment to the people of Jasper, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau himself handpicked today, and he announced that Randy Bousso, Minister of Employment, Workforce Development, and our official languages, will also serve as ministerial lead for Jasper.
Okay, deep breath. Now, which Randy? Is this the first Randy or the other Randy? Because we all
they're the same Randy. Marty.
Yeah, they're the same
all
Randy.
The same Randy.
This is bullshit, Clyde. You know, like it's because
this is from the top.
I mean, there's only
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that he's being put in here to. I mean, what else would he be put there to do? Scratch your back. We're gonna make sure the RCMP never get the information that we're looking for, and you will make sure that we never get busted for our gross negligence in Jasper.
This is beyond annoying. I mean, like, rebuilding Jasper needs to be a priority. So they've appointed a corrupt moron, to lead the efforts. I mean, I know why they appointed him. To your point, it's all
quid
to hide quid pro quo. But he's the only Liberal MP in Alberta, so of course they got to give it to him. Why not why not put aside bipartisan bullshit, petty bipartisan bullshit for just 1 minute and appoint anybody? Like, there's so many competent conservative MPs in Northern Alberta who could do this. You know, Brock Workington from Grand Prairie or somebody else. Like, God.
Because they do not want to get to the bottom of it,
and they don't want to rebuild it. I mean, they're obviously in no hurry to rebuild it if they've appointed a guy like Randy Bousso. My God. Okay.
So I don't know if you've heard
I'm sick to my stomach.
when this happened. Okay, so Randy Bousso, he's obviously part of the SDTC scandal. He's one of the many. He's one of the many. We don't know who all got paid out of this, and we're talking in the hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, Canada, we now, the GST only covers the servicing of the debt that we
barely
have to service.
Barely.
And it barely covers it.
Yep.
So the whole GST, which was supposed to be a temporary thing, is now, it's a sin tax on everybody to pay for just the servicing of the debt that Trudeau's government brought in. And what did that debt accrue? Well, it accrued people getting rich. Because this is what was happening as these big multi-billion-dollar ventures that the government was getting into. We're going to save the planet. We're going to change the weather. Well, who is profiting from it? They all these ministers were hiring their own companies,
totally,
to consult and do literally nothing. Literally nothing. They were embezzling taxpayers' money right out from, and I'm not talking about your money, Marty. I'm not talking about my money. I'm talking about money from way into the future that taxes will be collected in 50 or 100 years because that money is not being paid back anytime soon. And these guys are getting rich off of it. And
Well, and they're getting rich off of it, and they don't even hide it anymore. Like Randy,
no,
we joke about the other Randy. Reminder to the viewers: Randy was the owner of an MP who didn't declare that he had a business, and his business profited from government money, like lots of it, like $220 million of government money went to Randy's business. And we didn't even get anything for it. And then when he got called on it, he's like, "Oh, it's not my business. It's somebody else." His partner came to the House of Commons to testify. Remember his partner wearing the high heels, the white suit, the $6,000 bag, and the black hand nail polish or whatever. And he lied. He bold-faced lied. And now Randy's reward for that is, and now, yes, if you want to do reconstruction work in Jasper, you're going to have to go through Randy or the government, and 90. It's like the charities that proudly advertise that the 80% of the funds we raise go towards the actual charity work. Like, no. Okay.
So while you were gone,
don't keep going. You're gonna.
So the Conservatives, they put forward a motion to say, hey, we want to alert the RCMP of this stuff. We want them to have the information. We want the documents from the SDC scandal to be given to the RCMP for investigation, because we believe that it is viable,
huge, it's big,
that it will be criminal charges if this was to be given to the RCMP. The Speaker of the House said, okay, we're not going to move forward on any motions. We're not going to move forward on anything. Nothing is going to happen until the Liberals hand over that, because we've been waiting months, and you're going to do it.
Oh, okay. You got to break that down for me. Was the Speaker of the House doing it as a sort of is he sort of stalling the business of the House of Commons as a way to punish the Conservatives, or is he doing it as a way to avoid? I'm not quite sure how that would work.
It doesn't seem like a partisan thing he was doing. It sounds like he was actually trying to get this pushed forward.
Because that's what I'm trying to get. Like, he's like, wow, he's trying to do. Well, once in a while, the Speaker, you see him stop, he turns off the mics and he turns like he's like, if you've ever noticed the Speaker of the House, he's got about 6 people there that are like constitutional experts with the rule book, right? So once in a while, he might have said, "Oh shit, really? Like, I got to do this?" He might actually be doing something that he has to do, which explains one of the things I saw today. There's a rumor that we're very close to Trudeau perhaps proroguing Parliament.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay. Because I heard that today. That would make sense. Now it makes sense. Okay.
Right. So because they have to hand over these documents to the RCMP, the Liberals don't want to do that. They obviously don't want to do that. And they can't put forward any motions. Nothing is happening in Parliament. They're showing up and they're just yapping back and forth the whole time. No work is getting done. No bills are being put through.
Actually, that's okay. That's okay. You and I have talked about this.
You and I are happy.
If they don't do anything, that's fine.
Yeah, government not doing anything is it better than the government ever having any capacity to do things, because they always do the wrong thing.
Okay, so the Speaker has to do the right thing, which is uncomfortable for the Liberals. Okay, so keep going. So the Liberals
it's uncomfortable for the Liberals, and it's been going on for over a week. So here's a clip of Pierre Poilievre before he gets into talking about other things. But the first part of it, he talks about them stalling. They're the ones stalling because they could just hand over, if they're innocent, hand over this information.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. As you know, the House of Commons is paralyzed today, again, I think for the 7th day, after Justin Trudeau refused the Speaker's order to hand over evidence to the police in a $400 million scandal. A scandal involving 186 conflicts of interest, wherein Liberal appointees gave money, Canadian tax dollars, to their own companies. There must be something really damaging in all these documents Trudeau is covering up for him to shut down the House's businesses for 7 days in order to prevent the police from getting their hands on him. It's just another reminder that after 9 years of Justin Trudeau, everything is broken. He's not worth the crime, the cost, and the corruption. Housing costs have doubled. The cost
Okay, so now he's getting in his campaign.
Pierre's got a new handler. Pierre's changing his. He's less hyperbolic, but I like this Pierre actually.
Different demeanor, yeah, and
I
he's
like the
very
transfer.
assertive with this.
Hey, you know,
well, you wouldn't believe this though.
Hang on, let me just go
Okay.
one quick thought. One of the things that brought down the Chrétien liberals in the late 1990s was what was called the arrive scam, or not arrive scam, the
that's
ad
true,
scam, right?
Scam,
so
yeah.
They had this advertising thing, and it turned out that it was just a money laundering thing. Anyways,
it was an embezzlement racket.
Sure, but it's a brush fire compared to this. Ad scam had a $25 million budget, like 25 million, right?
Yeah.
And it brought down the liberals.
SDTC was like in the billions.
Yeah. So look at it. Wow, we're now in a world where, well, it's like comparing the orange juice, right? There was a conservative MP who once had to resign because she ordered a $13 or $14 orange juice. Now you got Trudeau sitting in $6,000 hotel rooms and drinking $250,000 worth of booze on the plane. Like, we're in a whole new world, man. Of the corruption is insane. Maybe we should join Parliament. Nah, I can't.
No, I couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it.
You're not gonna see me in there.
Okay, so the story gets better. Okay, so Poilievre comes out. Parliament's been paralyzed for 7 days.
Paralyzed for 7 days. And now the argument from the liberals to not give the information to the RCMP is because it would be against their charter rights. I'm not kidding. This is a government that suspended the rights of citizens during the COVID lockdowns when a bunch of truckers went to Ottawa and they suspended.
You're making me cry.
They suspended civil liberties across the entire country, and they're feigning their civil liberties are being their charter rights are being infringed on if the Parliament were to give over the information that may be criminal to the RCMP.
Well, but no, and it's like okay, this I gotta hear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it's demonstrably false what the Leader of the Opposition is saying, because your ruling was to send this matter to the House and Procedure Affairs Committee for more study. And so, in fact, it is only the Conservatives that are now obstructing their own obstruction, because they don't want this to go to committee, because it would demonstrate that they are trying to upend charter rights and override police independence. Thank you.
I found it interesting. They say everybody's going to lose their charter rights if the police get evidence into this $400 million Liberal spending scandal. Right. No, what will happen is that the Liberal nominees and appointees who engaged in 186 conflicts of interest to stuff their own pockets will be held criminally accountable, and Canadians might get their money back. Why won't they hand over the evidence, respect your ruling, so we can get back to work around here?
Yeah, and I agree 100% with that. Canadian taxpayers need to get their money back. That money needs to go back in, get it like every penny that they've embezzled out of that, and then go to jail.
Then
go to jail, directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
I mean, the Liberals are famous for mental gymnastics, right? It's like the excuse they gave for they don't want to tell us who the NSCOP report of the traitors or whatever. There's 11 names, and what did they say? Well, if we reveal the names of the 11 traitors, it might undermine democracy, and Canadians will lose confidence in Parliament. It's like, no. We'll gain confidence, man. Be transparent and tell us who the crooks are, and we'll gain confidence. But
they're saying that because they're just accusations at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, if somebody's accused of a crime, like Bernie Madoff, for example, he was accused of a crime until he was convicted. He was just the accused, you know. And this is any crime. It doesn't matter. You don't have charter rights to stop you from the public person having the information that you're being investigated go public. I'm surprised
Karina Gould came back to Parliament so quickly. I mean, she went away on maternity leave like a mere 5 or 6 months ago. My God, she's a parliamentarian. She could be on maternity leave probably for 2 years. And she's subjecting herself to this kind of punishment. By the way, she's the same lady who I think earlier this week gave a speech in the House of Commons or somewhere. She's the one who took offense to the language used to describe a killer as a bum. And she's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, but they're constituents, and I'm proud of all my constituents. She was upset that somebody called one of her constituents a bum, and the guy happened to be a murderer or something like that. Like they'll defend.
Wow.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah.
defend anybody.
Defend anybody. Oh my God. Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
boy.
mean,
So no more talk while I was okay. So while I was gone, basically Parliament's been frozen. We'll get back. You promised me you'll talk about the proroguing thing, but no. Now, did I hear that there was a second non-confidence vote? Was there one while I was gone?
yeah, and it
The
failed.
same idea didn't change. Yeah. Nothing more from Mark Carney or any of those
I
clowns.
believe there was a second one. Yeah, I don't think I'm lying on that. I think there was a second one.
Okay.
But they're just promising more and more and more, and then Parliament shut down, and that was it. Maybe it didn't even happen before it got shut down. Perhaps that was the thing. And
Oh, could be.
Saying, yeah,
be.
and then they were saying they weren't going to go along with it. So obviously the Bloc Québécois wants a thing. They're asking for pensions and other things, and the supply and
more protection of their cartels. They want to make sure that the milk
right.
cartels are protected. Yeah.
And then the NDP, they want their stuff too. And this is where it might end up being a prorogue of the Parliament, and it's all to essentially save these corrupt people from seeing any sort of justice. I think that's where they're going
because the bill, if proroguing government is like just one step below launching an election, right? It literally means wiping out government and saying we're starting again. We're starting with a new throne speech and all sorts of other things. And every bill that's currently sitting in the House of Commons goes done. It doesn't matter if it's been to 1 or 2 readings or how far they're advanced, they're done. And so that's a bold move, but Trudeau's done it twice. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does it a third time.
So, I mean, there's no guarantee this is going to happen, but it looks like it's going to go that way. Big shout out to Northern Perspective for dropping this as soon as they heard. They're kind of in the know on a lot of this stuff that's happening behind the scenes. So this will be a portion of the video. Of course, links are in the description.
Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. This is Ryan, aka Cypher, just outside of East Block, the Senate building in Ottawa, Ontario. Check out that sunset, everybody. Beautiful. Anyhow, sorry for the lack of polish and not really anything fancy today, but we wanted to get this out. So I just heard from some of our contacts inside the Senate that as of yesterday, Bill C-64, aka the quote-unquote Pharmacare Bill, has reached third reading that completes all of its stages, and they are fast-tracking it, and I mean fast-tracking the Pharmacare Bill to royal assent. And what do I mean by that? It means tomorrow. So that is fast, because sometimes these things can take weeks or even over, a month or two to actually reach royal assent. So they are pushing this through fast. Why would they do that? Well, here's the thing. So after the Pharmacare Act is through, then the NDP aren't really waiting for anything else to vote non-confidence or to vote to support the government anymore. They've been waiting for the Pharmacare Bill to pass. And if you don't believe that, Peter Julian put out a video just recently where he came out of the Senate building bragging that it just exited committee stage. So they are paying close attention to this to make sure that it gets through. Now, it would be great for them to actually take this to an election as their platform, and I mean the NDP, in order to sell that to Canadians. See, look what we got done. But they're not going to be worried about propping up the Liberal government anymore because of Pharmacare sitting in the Senate. So what does this mean? This means that prorogation may come very, very soon, because
okay, so I'll leave the link in the description down below. Go check it out. He goes more into it.
Yeah. No, I don't buy his theory. I mean, in fact, if he Okay, well, yeah, okay. So if the bill passes quickly, then the NDP has no more reason to prop the government. They don't anymore, anyways. They've already said they would, but I guess they really
but
don't.
this is something that they would want to
Sure.
go through, because it looks like it will go through anyway, and it looks like they're speeding it along.
They're speaking it
so
along because they know there's going to be a prorogue. But now, if he prorogues
this way, if he prorogues, they can't vote non-confidence.
Sure. But then if he prorogues on the other side, he's going to kill the two bills that are near and dear to Yves Blanchette. And so then Blanchette, so if he prorogues, which he's thinking of proroguing, he's almost guaranteed to send us into an election. Because if he prorogues, then what he's going to do is
because
he's going to prorogue and
lose power.
He's going to now that makes sense.
To save his own skin.
Yeah, he's going to prorogue and then write it out for the next. It's on my headline on my Twitter space. So I think we're 382 days away from the next election. So he could literally prorogue and do nothing for 382 days.
Well, they'd have to go back for their fall session. So that's when things would happen.
Yeah, he can prorogue again. He can do all sorts of fucking weird bullshit at this point. So holy cow.
Would you expect it? I would expect Trudeau to do anything to hang on to power as long as he possibly can.
Because if he prorogues, then he's just going to have to try and buy time for any motion. He just cannot have any voting motions in the House of Commons, including a budget. If he prorogues and then he resumes, there'll be a throne speech. The throne speech is a vote in itself. There has to be approved, right? You can reject it. There's a vote to approve the throne speech. So, okay, all right, cool. Okay, that's federal politics. What's going on in provincial politics?
That's not even the whole story. I mean,
does it continue? Okay.
Yeah, there was. And we'll get into it another time because it goes crazy. It went into. Pierre said something about Melanie Joly. He gets kicked out of Parliament.
Pierre got kicked out?
He got kicked out.
Whoa. Okay, well, we can't wait. Hang on. We're not going to not talk about that. We got to talk about that. What do you mean Pierre got kicked out?
Okay, I wanted to grab the stupidest video to give as an example of this. So here's what's her name? I always forget her name. The one that said stop with the woke shit. In Parliament,
Michelle Rempel.
Michelle Rempel. This is her take on the whole ordeal.
I love Michelle.
The government this moments ago in the House of Commons. The Speaker of the House of Commons, who is a Liberal member of Parliament, just banned Pierre Poilievre from asking questions in the House. I couldn't believe it myself. I was just watching it on TV, and
this is a parliamentarian, not a TikToker.
Like, this can't be for real. And I had to watch it. The Speaker of the House of Commons. Remember, this is the guy who's been accused of all sorts of unethical behavior. He's been accused of partisanship. Guy who made an announcement for the Liberal Party of Ontario conference, I think, wearing his speaker.
He's campaigning for the Liberals
abroad, and he was talking about being a Liberal in a formal setting. Like this guy has had to go before parliamentary committees to explain his behavior, and he just banned the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, from asking Justin Trudeau questions in the House of Commons. Now, here's the other thing. Here's the kicker. Justin Trudeau has had a lot worse behavior or whatever he's claiming happened than Pierre Poilievre has. There's only one reason in my mind why the Speaker of the House of Commons would ban the leader of the opposition from doing his exact job. What is Pierre Poilievre's job? It's to do what? It's to hold the government to account on your behalf. And the Speaker of the House of Commons just said, sorry, no, not today.
Literally a parliamentarian.
Can you imagine that? This is Canada. We're supposed to have a democracy where I'm supposed to be able to represent 120,000 people.
Anyway, so he said something along the lines of, sympathetic to Hamas or whatever about Melanie Joly, something along those lines. I don't know exactly what the words were, but this came about after, what happened in Vancouver. It was this big thing. Apparently this has been happening all across Canada, but this is something that happened recently in Vancouver where, people were burning Canadian flags, and it was written about in different articles. The videos went viral. National Post, a masked speaker at a Vancouver anti-Israeli rally, shouted "Death to Canada" into a microphone, expressed support for terrorist group Hezbollah and Hamas, and burned a Canadian flag, according to the videos circulating on the internet. So, I mean, there's a bunch of this going around. I did a whole report on it this morning, talking about the ins and outs of it. But it basically is, these groups have been radicalizing more and more and more. The rhetoric is getting more and more intense. And finally, the Conservatives are coming out and saying, enough's enough. You're doing this on the anniversary of a terrorist attack. You cannot be serious. That this is a reality. Now, Branden Leslie did this video on it to explain it a bit.
Over the last year, we have seen a continual rise in the number of people, students tearing up their own university campuses, aligning themselves with Hamas, supporting a terrorist organization, which I find simply disgusting. But yesterday, it went even further. In Vancouver, we saw people chanting, "We are Hezbollah, we are Hamas," literally aligning themselves, saying that they are part of a terrorist organization.
We are Hezbollah.
Same.
We heard chants of "Death to Canada," "Death to the United States," "Death to Israel."
Death to Canada, death to the United States, and death to Israel.
That's
here in our Canadian streets. And perhaps worst of all, we saw cutting up of and the burning of Canadian flags. Tens of thousands of Canadians have served under, fought, and died for that flag. That flag is the symbol that gives these idiot protesters the ability to say whatever they want, because that is free speech. I will defend it every step of the way, even if I think what they're saying is disgusting. But freedom of speech also gives me the ability to say what I think about you idiot protesters out there saying "Death to Israel."
I like this.
Yeah, and that's a challenging one for me, because I'm on the same boat as Brendan, which is the flag. Actually, we fought for the flag, and it represents freedom. And one of the freedoms would be that you're allowed to desecrate the flag. It's an interesting dilemma, but I would call that an expression and not a speech. And so, do you have freedom of expression? Is a little bit different.
It's supposed to be the same. Like the whole
it's
idea of freedom of expression was supposed to be more encompassing. So it's not just speech, it's art and other things that you're doing.
I would be okay though if the flag in and of itself, just the flag, was protected. But then it's a slippery slope. So I will defend. So I will say, fine, you can burn it. It's your right to burn it. It fucking pisses me off when they chant "Death to Canada." Now I think that's imagine if I was on stage burning a pride flag, I'd be chastised. But if I said "Death to gays" while burning a pride flag, I'd be in jail like in 20 seconds. Like it's completely unacceptable. So this is going too far, right? Like I don't know how to deal with this, but I would.
I did a poll. I put it out there. I said, should there be a punishment for burning a Canadian flag in Canada? And I gave the two options. Yes, it's traitorous, and no, it's protected free speech. And 80% of the viewership of this channel said no, yes, that's traitorous. There should be a punishment for that. And 20%, went more with the libertarian sort of approach of, no, this is protected speech, so you can't. You can't do that. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance there because
don't desecrate the flag. Like fly it upside down. Maybe let it fall off the post and laying on the street, that kind of thing. That there's a way to make your feelings known without going to like ripping the flag and burning it. But hey, listen, it's free speech. It's free speech. Yeah, it's free speech, and all it does is it exposes them. And you and I have talked about this. I've tried to stay neutral on this battle because it's none of my business, right? It's been going on in the Middle East for 70 years, and I'm trying to stay out of it. But when you do shit like this, folks, guess what? You're pushing me to one side. And that side is still actually not Palestinian or Israeli. The side you're pushing me to is I want your ass out of this fucking country is where we're at. Sorry for all the swearing tonight, but this is what's pissing me off. Like I don't understand why these people would come here and what, like, if they had, what's their specific concern? Canada's not doing enough. Like, do they think are we the ones killing Israelis or Palestinians? Like, are we still providing weapons? I don't know. Why are they pissed off at us? Like, because
I had people put that charge on me today on Twitter and say, you know, oh, you've picked a side. You've done this. I haven't picked a side.
No,
you went after Canada, so
yeah.
you're no longer good for me.
Yeah.
I'm not picking any sides on any of this stuff. As soon as you attack Canada, it's like no. Now you've broken that seal of I'll leave you the hell alone.
Yeah,
that's
now, I mean, like, man, they're like, you know, like we're like when there's disasters anywhere around the world, man, we're the first ones there to help. Like we help Haiti. We'll help our American cousins who are having hurricanes right now. We're evacuating thousands out of Lebanon. We're helping Israeli. We're helping everyone. We're neutral. We're peacekeepers is our tradition. And then to come here and diss us like this, that's insane. That's insane.
So
I
think it was, I agree with John Rustad when he said that, you know, people who align themselves with terrorist groups, they should have their visas, whatever immigration status investigated.
Yeah.
Like that should be up for grabs. You should be able to expel people. I mean, I go and you break any laws.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. That in that video, they are chanting things that are pro Hamas, right? They are literally identifying as pro Hamas, and I'll just go with the law here. Hamas in Canada is recognized as a terrorist organization. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It's on the list.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
But
yeah, there's ways to deal.
I hate
let me conclude.
I hate to break this to you. A lot of them are homegrown, Marty. A lot of them are from here. They're coming out of the universities. They're coming out of academia. They're coming out of the woke culture. This isn't all, you know, Palestinians. A lot of this is just
people who want to protest and woke people and was there any call it police presence, arrests during these events, or people just videotaped it and that's it?
So I don't have,
you know what? Let's leave.
No, I don't have the clip up, but I do want to bring it up.
Okay.
There was a police presence, and people who were what would the term be? Engaged by the police were people who were coming to counter protest. There was a guy who had an F Hamas sign, and the police came after him. There was another incident in Parliament where they had a thing at the Parliament Hill. And some guys were coming up there to record it, and they were turned away because of their ideological reasons. You're not supporting this. You're not welcome here.
No,
in Canada, at the Parliament.
I could also sympathize with the police a little bit. I mean, they know that it's a powder keg waiting to explode, right? They don't want to let this is the kind of thing where you don't want to, like, you got to try and keep the counter protesters a long ways away from the two groups, or they'll clash, right? They'll clash. So maybe we should let them clash. I don't know. God,
maybe that's
in
what
Canada.
they're hoping for.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, other things that are happening in Canada. We had our final debate for the provincial election in British Columbia, and
how'd that go?
All right.
Okay, that's not encouraging.
No, it's not particularly. So the thing is, in British Columbia, people are going away from the NDP. They're not voting for the Conservatives to necessarily get into the Conservatives, but there is a mad rush into the Conservatives for, you know, a lot of good reasons. But I don't know if John Rustad is he's not a charismatic guy.
He's not charismatic. Yeah. You and I met him in person. I only met him once when
and that's not to say any bad things about him. Actually, if you watch his interview with Jordan Peterson, what a fantastic story. Like he's quite a good guy, and he's got a lot of good motives. And you and I, like you said, met him, and he's there for the right reasons. But when you get into this game of politics, they're able to label you a certain way, and then they can set the stage to make it so you look a certain way to the unknowing voters. And this, I think, is what went down at the thing. So here's a clip from this, and this is them trying to make him look like he's some kooky conspiracy theorist guy.
When we were all rolling up our sleeves to get vaccines to protect vulnerable seniors from COVID-19, when Bonnie Henry was working night and day to keep us safe during the pandemic, you know, John Rustad and his candidates were providing donations to people who were protesting outside of hospitals, anti-vax convoy members. He's still an anti-vaxxer. He appeared in front of a group of people that called the so-called, you called it the so-called COVID vaccine. You said you wish you'd never been vaccinated. And then when someone said, do you think that public health professionals should be tried like Nazi war criminals? You said, well, we wouldn't do that in BC, but we would support an international effort to do that, John. It's embarrassing. You know, I wouldn't fire Bonnie Henry. I'm trying to hire you and your family, a family doctor we've connected to.
Oh, dude, that's not a win. But
if you think that we'll be safer in our province with someone who doesn't believe that vaccines work in charge of things,
Thank you.
So the whole debate, it was the moderator and these two candidates against John Rustad. It was a lot of that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like Turner or Trump against remember the cartoons after the Trump debate? It was Trump against Kamala and the two moderators. So, hey,
here's the thing. Here, I wanted to bring this point up.
Yeah.
So people hear the term conspiracy theorist and they just immediately go, oh, that guy's crazy, that kind of thing. But think of all the things that you might think is crazy sounding that's actually true. Did you know that if you caught a cold probably coming up this year, it's probably from a lab in Wuhan? Or at least you know,
are you playing a game of if I've heard that 4 years ago or if I heard that now?
Well, I mean, people 4 years ago called people crazy for that, and they still call people crazy for that today, which is crazy because it was the media that perpetrated the misinformation there. The truth is there was a virus that was made in a lab in Wuhan. It escaped. We don't know how. They haven't got to the bottom of that. But the fact is that this is what we were all infected with. Crazy.
I
Mandates happen. Okay.
I wish we still had a store somewhere with all the insanity, right? The arrows on the floor, the saran wrap around the non-essential goods, the plexiglass walls, the free masks at the front, the hand sanitizer everywhere. It was completely insane. And yes, people want us to forget about it. I don't think the
barcodes to get into a shop.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to have a QR code on your phone identifying yourself. Just passports.
Yeah.
To get around.
It's I don't know what I would
crazy.
If I was John, I would have said, yeah, I'd go, yeah, that's how I stand. The vaccine, I would, that's me. But I would say, yeah, I call it the experimental vaccine because it's experimental. This is why. And the mandates didn't work and blah, blah, blah. I would, that's where I get frustrated with conservatives. Don't fight the liberals and the socialists on the periphery and try to find a nice, sweet common ground. Just fight them on stand by your values. I want conservatives in this province to be like Ron DeSantis. Unapologetic. Like, stop being apologetic. Stop trying to. But I get it. I also get why it is. I mean, in fact, I just talked about this not too long ago. We are socialists in Canada. It's a really scary thing, eh, Clyde? It's really scary, but we're going down that path. I mean, we've fallen in love with big government and promises of big government and government doing things for us that we don't have to do for ourselves. And I've thought about this long and hard in the last couple of years. I mean, we are going down that path, and eventually it'll correct itself, but we're not ready to correct yet. We're not, we're getting close.
I'm ringing the bells. I'm ringing the bells. And there's other people ringing the bells out there too. Another great one is Valuetainment. You may know PBD podcast.
Yep.
He's been ringing the bell. Listen to this. This is great.
So imagine you're the richest country in South America. You have more oil reserves than any other country in the world. 18% of the global reserves are yours. Saudi second at 17%. You are rich. You're beautiful. You're doing great. Everybody wants to come to your country for vacation. Venezuela. On some of the lists, Guinness Book of World Record, the happiest people alive live in Venezuela. And in 1998, you get a guy that comes in, Hugo Chavez. Billionaires support this guy. Business owners support this guy. They're like, we like this guy. He's going to be great. And then all of a sudden, boom! Bad policies cause Venezuela to be at a point right now where in the last 10 years, 7.7 million people have left the country. 25% of the people in the country of Venezuela left. 6.5 million to, neighboring countries, South America, the famous bridge, the Simon Bolivar bridge that they crossed to go to Colombia. So imagine you're the richest country in South America.
That is the reality of the situation. We are a prosperous country. We have enormous wealth in resources. We have all this stuff going for us. This can happen here. It's not unreal to think that this could happen. And you got to scream it from the hilltops. You got to be seriously like telling people, wake up, it's happening.
Yeah, keep doing what we're doing, Clyde. It takes 3% of the population, right? I mean, we had to. I remember actually speaking of COVID. There were some dark days for me during COVID. I thought, God, we'll never snap out of this. We'll never snap out of it, right? And then the trucker convoy occurred. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. And so
it would have been.
We've talked to guys like Kirk and people from the Iron Curtain who watched it happen. Like they tell us that if the trucker convoy didn't happen, we'd be in deep trouble today. Yeah. So something else will happen. I mean, the politicians, you and I, the Michelle Rempels of the world that keep digging, the John Rustads that keep. Actually, it's more you and I and others like us. We got to keep digging and showing this corruption. Get people to, it's tough. We got to get people to appreciate that $400 million is $400 million, man. Like, I've heard people go, government's incompetent. It's a couple of million here, a couple of million there. It's like, oh my God.
No, it's not that.
No, it's not. It's so I'm looking at the clock, man. Okay. So I missed a great week. Thanks for bringing me up to speed. Next week, we'll maybe dive into some of these topics into a little more detail. It makes sense what happened. But yeah, you and I are jumping on another space after this. So, and
that's right.
I'm cognizant of the time. So yeah. Okay.
Marty, where can people find you?
I'm going back to the bush. I'm out of here, folks.
Done. It's over.
Yeah. You can't find me. No, you can find me on Twitter, folks. Marty Up North on Twitter. And, what happens when I'm gone? I lose momentum. So now I got to regain my momentum on Twitter and get going again and stop procrastinating. And it's all good. Yeah. Great show. But Clyde, thanks for bringing me up to speed. It's a little depressing, but we'll get past this. Actually, if you guys win, if BC turns, is our next show before or after the election? Is the election next Monday?
Election's the 19th.
Okay. So 2 shows from now, we'll talk. 2 shows from now. Hopefully you guys got a conservative government in BC.
Oh, well, fingers crossed. Here we go.
Fingers crossed. All right, man. See you next week.